is the new M2 CS. It may look to the average person just like any other M2, but let me assure you, this is no regular M2. It's a very special car. There's the M2, there's the M2 competition, there's the M2 CS, which is this, and there's different levels above that even. The engineers at BMW Motorsport have worked closely to take what they've learned from the racing program, because there's a race version of this called the M2 CS Racing that you can buy. You can go race it in IMSA, World Challenge. This is basically all they've learned, and you could tell that what they've learned has come down to trickle down to this, and you can have this in your garage. Engine, what's under the hood of this car is the S55 power plant. It's the similar power plant to what's in the M4 competition. It's a 3-liter inline 6, turbocharged. It has a closed deck design that really is perfect for turbocharged cars. They have a nice stiff block. Cylinder walls are coated, and instead of liners to reduce weight, it's actually been designed to be as lightweight as possible. It produces 444 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the nice thing is you can use all of the 444 horsepower in this car. It's not like some of those crazy cars that put out 700-800 horsepower and all they do is just burn rubber. You can actually put the power down in this car and have a lot of fun. 0-60 in this with the DCT transmission is 3.8 seconds. If you do the manual transmission, you can have a manual transmission in this car as standard. The DCT is optional. You shave about 0.2 seconds off of that time. So a manual transmission car is 0.2 seconds slower than this car, but it's a lot more fun on the street. But more on that later. Cooling under an engine like this is always difficult, so that it can withstand the temperature, especially on high temperature days when you're racing, you're tracking it, you're doing whatever you're doing, canyon roads, things like that. There's a bunch of coolers all over under the nose of this car, and you have an oil cooler, you have a scavenging pump, and you even have a sump system that similar to an AccuSump on race cars, where when you corner hard, it makes sure that you get oil pressure to the engine at the right time. You can corner hard, especially with the sticky tires, and not have to worry about oil starvation. DCT equipped cars like this one also receive a separate transmission oil cooler to make sure your transmission temperatures are held down. Also special in this car is all the carbon fiber in this car. There was a carbon fiber front brace that was introduced on the M2 competition that weighed only 3.3 pounds, and that's here under this hood. That increases the front end stiffness. The M2 also, the CS also comes standard with the adaptive M Sport suspension that was previously not available on M2 competition models. The new front fitted suspension gives you control and choices. You can go comfort, you can go sport, you can go sport plus, you can adjust damper settings and all kinds of things, and really to suit your style of driving. The rear 5-link suspension in the back has forged aluminum components, very stiff. The rear steel subframe is bolted solidly. There's no rubber, so to aid control, and no deflection in the rear suspension. Standard brake fitments in this car are 400mm vented steel rotors. This particular, with 6-piston front calipers, 4-piston rear calipers. This particular car has the very expensive ceramic brake option. It's the first time the M2 has had this option, and if you're serious about your competing in this car, doing track days, this may be a very expensive but fun way to go. Exterior enhancements on this car are kind of obvious. When you see this car compared to a regular M2, you kind of can tell that it's rather special. You got a carbon fiber roof, you got the carbon fiber mirrors, which you could tell they're very lightweight. Front fascia, the splitter, the rear spoiler, all made out of carbon fiber, all to save weight over their steel counterparts. You get functional front vents to vent the hot air out of the block and the engine. The carbon fiber roof on the M2 CS is very special. It's the first time it's offered on the M2, and it has a special resin substructure underneath, which helps it become ultra stiff, very lightweight, and it still produces insulation so that you can still have a quiet ride inside and you don't hear the racket from the outside. So that's really cool. And it requires no bracing underneath the sheet metal like a regular steel roof. So that's really cool. Interior appointments to the M2 are carbon fiber, and lots of carbon fiber pieces and lots of suede pieces that are really nice. It really gives you a nice, expensive feel, yet still be very functional and very race car material. Alcantara material covers center armrest and the dash trim, which also has CS badges and stitching all over the place, which is kind of cool. The steering wheel is really awesome. It's nice and thick, perfectly sized, and really nice. It feels really nice on your hands. And everything's covered in Alcantara, which is really nice. If you want to do track days, you want to wear gloves, it also gives you nice grip. Probably the best thing about this car may not be what's under the hood or the suspension or anything like that. It's the seats. These seats are incredible. They're lightweight BMW competition seats, yet they're so extremely supportive, adjustable, really hold you in well without being hard or harsh, very comfortable, unbelievable. The seats alone really make this car worthwhile. If you want one of these in your driveway, you better have a big checkbook. Base price on this car is about $84,000. Ours, with the DCT transmission and the carbon ceramic brakes, comes up to about $96,000. That's a lot of money. But when you're driving this thing hard and it's such a rewarding car and you're having so much fun, who knows what's expensive or what's not. Driving the M2 CS. So this is not your ordinary M2, although it looks, from the average perspective, it doesn't look that much different. But when you see it, you can tell there's something special about it, especially this one, the wheels, the brakes, the body kit. It has a special sense to it. But if you don't know your regular M2s, your competitions, you know that there's something special about this, and it's very special. There's a big premium to pay for this car, and you really have to be a hardcore guy to be willing to pay the price, because it's a big premium. But it's gonna, for one, it's gonna have fantastic resale value, and two, it's a really nice machine. It's you could tell this thing has been really well thought out and well engineered. This particular car has the carbon ceramic brakes on it, which is a very expensive option, but the brakes are phenomenal. You couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, there's like zero to complain about. And handling is razor sharp. I mean, this is what you want a fun sports car to be. It does everything right. There's just that's all you can say. It's an amazing thing. I just wish it was cheaper than more affordable, but I guess good things don't come cheap. So driving this thing around, it has 444 horsepower. It's about 55 pounds lighter due to the lightening of like the carbon fiber roof, the carbon fiber front spoiler, rear spoiler, things like that, and of course the ceramic brakes, which are the regular brake rotors, I believe, are 30 pounds a piece, and these things are about 17 pounds a piece, so big difference. It's got the M adaptive rear differential, distributes power from left to right and locks up when the computer needs to, and of course it's more aggressive when it needs to be, and it's less aggressive when it needs to be, so it adjusts depending on what mode you're in. It's and of course you have it's fast. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. The shifter, once you put it in sport mode, there's sport and there's sport plus. Once you put it in those modes, it really moves around, and it goes where you point it. You turn the wheel and it goes there. It's fantastic. Steering is the steering reminds me of actually older BMWs, where the steering actually gave you a good feel. And you know, a lot of the BMWs lately have been more for the mass market and have been softened, but this is razor sharp. And I don't know, a lot of people talk about the engine and suspension and the brakes, but to me, one of the best features of this car is actually the seats. These seats are amazing, how comfortable they are, how supportive they are. They're actually lighter weight too, but these seats alone just make it worthwhile. So yeah, let's see how this thing goes. We can actually pre-program it. There's all, you can go into the manual mode, you can go into the M mode and program all your settings that you want, your preferences that you want for you can program everything for your transmission, shocks, steering, all those things. It's quite nice to be able to adjust all of those things. When you go into the M mode, it also turns off the stability control, things like that, so you can just drive yourself. But with this kind of horsepower, you do have to be careful. I don't quite know how to feel about the transmission on this car. On one hand, it's razor sharp. It shifts so quickly and so perfectly, and if I was going to race this car, this is the transmission I'd want. But on the track, it's fantastic. On the street, it's just annoying. It's got a delay on the street. It feels like a transmission in like an old go-kart where it has centrifugal clutch, where you rev it, there's no bite, and then you give it gas and then it bites and it goes and it lurches a little bit. It's not as bad as the older style dual clutch transmissions, but it's still rather annoying on the street. And of course on the street it's much more fun to change your own gears and things like that. But on the track, this transmission is awesome. And amazing thing is you can actually program how aggressive you want the shifting to be and everything. So even that's adjustable. And when you put it in full aggressive mode, it really, really rewards a good driver. And it's awesome because you can't make a mistake. You can't over rev the engine. You can't blow it up. You can't lock up the rear wheels by mistake, things like that. And you can even shifts are so fast and so seamless that you can shift in the middle of a corner. It doesn't upset the car. So yeah, all those things really make the difference to make this much more fun of a car. So yeah, it's definitely really nice. There's probably only one car that's better than this, which is the racing version of this car, which is not street legal. But being able to drive this thing on the street and have fun with it on the track, as very few lucky people will be able to do, they'll have a lot of fun. Be sure to watch us on our channel, subscribe below, and comment, tell us what you think about this car. And if you'd spend this kind of money on this kind of car.